Alafia. Greetings, everyone. My name is Baba Akinkube Karade, and I bring you greetings from Ile Imole Ifa Temple of Light here in East Orange, New Jersey. I want to extend a greetings to the Jefferson School African American Heritage Center for this KWANZAA celebration, and I want to take this opportunity to pour libation for your event. I am honored to be asked to participate in this. And before we begin, I want to ask you to participate with me. I want you to think about your ancestors. And not just someone in your family who has died, but I want you to think about a member of your family who was the one who held the family together, the one who helped move the family forward, the one that faced challenges, the ones that packed the family up and moved to a new place to have a new start. Whatever it was that made your family member the standard bearer for your family, the one who held your family together, because these are the people who are responsible for all of us being here. And we want to honor your ancestors. We want to honor our ancestors, if for no other reason than this one main reason. One day, we will become the ancestors who will want to be honored. So we want to ask your ancestors to come and to bless this event, and to come and let their presence be felt by you within this event, so that they will be close to you and you will be closer to them. So with that, we pour water to the earth. We pour water to the earth for life. We pour water to the earth to clear the way, to clear away negativity, to clear away darkness, for what it is we are about to do next. This is one of the main reasons why we pour libation. So with that in mind, I am going to go to the ancestors now. Ijuba Egun, Omi Tutu, Ile Tutu, Ona Tutu, Tutu Esho Odara, Tutu Ori, Tutu Orumila, Tutu Bogborisha, Mujubal Orun, Mujubal Ofin, Mujubal Dumare, Mojubai Bae, Gumbo Boy Gumbe, Mojuba Baba Lorisha, Eolorisha, Olu Ara Oro, Mojubaba Boy Kumbelesa Dumare Bae Gum, Mojuba Bobe Gumbaba, Mojuba Bobe Gunia, King Comache, Bobe Gubaba, King Comache Bobe Gunia, Kosi Ku, Kosi Aru, Kosi Ofof, Kosi Fitibo, Kosi Idina, Kosi Eba, Kosi Ese, Kosi Iyo, Kosi Boboilu, Kosi the Jude, Ari Kubabawa, Ari Kuiyawa. And let everyone say, Ashe, Asheo, Ashe. And may the ancestors come and make your event a great event to have, and may it be celebrated and remembered for days and days to come. Thank you again. Peace and blessings. Be well.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining the second presentation of the Jefferson School African American Heritage Center's KWANZAA celebration for 2020. My name is Leslie Scott Jones, and I want to thank Baba Karade for sending us his blessings and pouring libation for our presentation today. Today, we are talking about the third principle of KWANZAA, which is about community health and wellness. And the reason we have our presenter here today is to talk about one of those things that we need to strengthen for the Black community, and that is our financial health and wellness. So I want to introduce our presenter today, Mr. Andre Gould. He is a financial services professional. He's worked in risk management and financial services since 2012. Andre provides strategic financial planning and comprehensive risk management to help his clients meet their short and long-term goals. He focuses on insurance, investment strategies, charitable giving, retirement income, funding college, group benefits, estate planning, financial education, risk management, and business succession planning. He works with a range of clientele, including professionals, business owners, retirees, and young families. Andre graduated from Liberty University with a degree in business management and holds an associate's in general insurance designation. He's completed all core curriculum for his charter property casualty underwriter designation and has successfully completed his life and health insurance examination. Andre lives in Charlottesville, Virginia, with his wife, Brennan, and their 3 daughters. Thank you so much, Andre, for joining us today, taking time away from your beautiful family to be with this community and this family.
Yes, thank you, Leslie. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with everyone today. I want to thank the Jefferson School of African American Heritage Center for giving me the opportunity. Happy holidays to everyone. As Leslie stated, I am a financial representative here in Charlottesville, Virginia. My biggest desire, of course, is to help people create financial security for themselves and their families. Of course, we understand that looks different for different people. Generally, the goal, though, is to address the potential of someone, unfortunately passing away too soon. Also, someone becoming sick or injured, which prevents them from being able to work, and also to ensure sufficient assets for retirement and other financial goals that they may have, such as home ownership, putting their kids through college, vacationing, and just living an overall healthy, comfortable life. So before I jump into today's discussion, if you don't remember anything I say today, remember this, that I don't want anybody to be discouraged about maybe where they may be. I really want people to focus on where we're going or how we can get there moving forward. So, with that being said, let's talk a little bit about how we can consider financial wellness for ourselves and for our families. Um, I believe that a strong strategic financial plan should have at least a three-tier approach. And if you can follow me, if you have a pyramid and you break that pyramid into three levels, um, I think that the foundational level or the base level of one's strategy should be a risk management portfolio. And within that risk management portfolio, of course, that includes health insurance, what I call paycheck. Some refer to it as disability insurance, as well as life insurance. And the reason why that's foundational to a sound financial strategy is because uh, if you don't have the funds because you're paying either medical bills or if you don't have health insurance and something happens to you, then you can't allocate dollars to overall financial wellness or health because you're stuck paying medical bills because you don't have health insurance. And same thing with disability, if you will. If you're disabled or you're unable to work due to, again, injury, illness, or whatever the case may be, then many times you don't have an income. You don't have a way to provide for yourself and your family. Therefore, you cannot provide to build wealth. And then, unfortunately, if someone was to pass away prematurely or unexpectedly, then at that point in time, you again don't have any type of means or assets in place for your family to continue to live at the standard they were while you were here. So I believe again that strategy of a portfolio, risk management portfolio, is foundation to anybody's plan and overall financial health. The second tier is wealth accumulation and investment portfolio. And of course, having a different assets or different ways to accumulate assets to build wealth and accumulate wealth is, of course, the goal. And the ultimate goal is, of course, to have a portfolio that is diversified in a way that is meet your risk tolerance, as well as meets your time horizon, and just overall is a good mix for your successful future when it comes to your overall finances and retirement. The last and the top tier is one that is probably the least spoke about, which is the distribution phase. And in the distribution phase, that is the time when you turn those assets into income. And to do that in a way that's the most efficient, meaning the most tax efficient, meaning the way that you can do it where you don't exhaust your assets prematurely, or you don't exhaust your assets to the point that you don't have anything to pass down to your loved ones, to your benefactors, beneficiaries, whatever you call them, is the goal. And there is a sound strategy for proper distribution. So when it comes to financial well-being, you must have a plan, and I think that's that goes without saying. I think that's in everything in life in general, is to have a sound plan so that you can be successful at whatever you do, and it's no different with your finances. So the strategy we'll cover today is what I refer to as a strong foundational strategy. And so let's just kind of jump into it a little bit here. The first thing that one must address is, of course, cash flow management and debt, debt control. Just making sure that you're control of whatever debts that you have. And what I mean by cash flow management, I mean that you want to have a positive cash flow. So you want more money or more income coming in on a monthly basis, yearly basis, than you do debts or liabilities. So you want to make sure that your cash flow is in a positive light, in a positive direction, so that again you can allocate dollars to the wealth building that you so desire. So that's number one. That, and that's an important one. You got to be cash flow positive if you want to be financially secure and sound. Okay, and so that's a big one, to really consider. Um, or it's a big one. It's a big one not to just consider. It's a big one to have in place. It's a must have. If you're not cash flow positive, you won't be successful in building any type of wealth. And it also will lead to a lot of stress. Um, the second strategy within that foundational strategy is having an emergency fund and savings. And what I like to do is, or I like clients to consider, is just having $1,000 put aside, working towards having that $1,000. And I don't care where you keep it. You can put it in a bank. You can put it under the mattress. You can put it in your drawer, wherever you want to have it. But just have that $1,000 as a security blanket. Don't touch it. Don't pass go. Act as if it's not there until you have an emergency. Okay. And so that's the baseline to work towards. If you're not there, having at least $1,000 saved for an emergency. In a parallel fashion, I will also encourage clients or people to think about um, instilling or having a plan to save 3 to 6 months living expenses. 3 to 6 months living expenses allows you a great deal of flexibility, allows you a great deal of freedom, and can just really overall change one's mindset. And what I mean by that is, if you have 3 to 6 months living expenses, then at that point in time, you can start thinking about, all right, how much risk can I assume now? And what I mean by assumption of risk is, I can now go to my property casualty agent. If I have a car, if I have a home, I can go to them and say, hey, how much on an annual basis will it save me if I increase my deductibles to say $1,000 to $1,500 to $2,000? And I'm not saying that's for everybody, but I'm saying in principle, how much will that save me on a yearly basis if I assume more of the risk because I have the funds set aside? Also, if I'm not enjoying my job, or I feel stuck in my work or whatever, then it gives me the ability to transition smoothly without a ton of angst, because I have these assets set aside for a rainy day, for when I need them. The third thing that I like people to consider is wills, advanced medical directives, and durable power of attorneys. Now, of course, you need to speak with a estate attorney to help you put these documents in place. But these are documents that everyone specifically with a family should invest in and should consider. These documents will help with a smooth transition of one's estate. It will make sure that your wishes are done if you're incapacitated for whatever reason, maybe medically, what have you. And then it also provides you with the opportunity to have somebody speak on your behalf. Say, for instance, if you are out of the country or out of the state and you need to do a financial transaction, or, heaven forbid, something happens to you, and you need somebody to make some decisions on your behalf, and you are unable to do so in the physical, these documents will allow you to do that. The fourth component of a sound financial strategy, or the foundational strategies I'm referring to, is income protection. Okay. I often ask people, and if anybody is listening to this who have ever had a conversation before with me, I often ask, what is your greatest asset? What do you believe your greatest asset is? And a lot of times people say, well, my greatest asset is my car or my home or my jewelry. And I don't believe that that's the case. Your greatest asset that you have is your ability to make an income, specifically your ability to make an income over the course of your life. Okay. And why would you not want to consider making sure that that is protected in some way, some fashion? Now, and that's what disability insurance does. It provides you with the opportunity, if something was to happen to you, for you to still be able to generate an income on a monthly basis. And so it's a super important part of one's plan. And I encourage everyone who is not considering or had not considered it to consider it. And the fifth element of, again, a sound financial strategy is the event of a loss of life. So life insurance. Um, Again, it gives, if you have life insurance, it's not just specifically for, while it's a part of it, it's not specifically or should not specifically be looked at for just final expenses, meaning burial expenses, funeral expenses, so forth and so on. You have to look at life insurance a bit more broad, especially if you have a family or if you have folks that who are dependent upon you. And what I mean by that is you have to look at life insurance in the guise of, if I'm no longer here, not providing an income for my the people who depend on me, a life insurance policy will provide immediate cash that's needed to be able to support my family. So it's there to be able to replace my income, so that if something was to happen to me, that my family would not have to move out of the house that they live in. They can, our kids can still go to the same school. So one's life being lost is already disruptive in itself, right? And so a life insurance policy that's suited and fitted for one's needs and their families is instrumental in a solid foundational strategy when it comes to financial wellness. Okay. Now, I have thrown a ton of information out at this particular time. And Leslie, I would like to invite you, if you can think of anything, any questions that you may have with all the information that I've said thus far.
Absolutely. So I think one
Excuse
of
me.
the biggest questions that probably anyone who's watching or listening has is, all of these strategies that you've laid out sound really great. They sound, it's like, yes, that's exactly what we should be doing. That's exactly how things should work. So what happens when you don't have that positive cash flow and you're not able to do all of this, to set all of this up, to have this foundation? So let's say someone is working with, $2,000 a month as their income, and they only have like $300 or $400 left after they pay all of their bills. So what is the most important thing that they should do first to start building this foundation?
Yeah. So I think if someone has, $300 or $400 left over, then that's positive cash flow. And so that is the goal. You want to of course expand upon that as much as you possibly can. As far as what are the next steps that one should consider with that additional $300 or $400 residual, is of course going to be contingent and dependent upon the person's situation. Most folks have some type of benefits through an employer sponsor plan. So the goal is, of course, to capitalize on any employer sponsored plan that one may have, and see how far or how much resources the employer may provide, so that you can allocate that additional $300 or $400 in a way that's most beneficial for the individual and the individual's family. So it's just really going to be contingent upon what that individual's situation is. If they have kids, if they don't have kids, if they desire to have kids one day, maybe they're a widower, maybe they are single and then they're perfectly fine with that. So it's not a one size, unfortunately, fits all. It's really going to be contingent upon the person's personal situation, what things to put into place with that additional residual amount of money that's left over on a monthly basis.
Okay. So you mentioned things like wills, medical directives, power of attorney, that kind of thing. So let's say somebody has, they do have positive cash flow at the end of the month. They've got some stocks, through their company. They've got a 401k through their company, but they don't have a will or any of these other things set up. What is out of those three, out of a will, medical directives, and power of attorney, which one do you think is because all of these are going to cost money for somebody to have put in place? Which one of those three do you think is the most important to do first?
So I think it's difficult to say specifically which one is going to be the most important. But it is a great question. I will say this. Let me start by defining or providing a definition for all of them, and then maybe the audience themselves can determine which one is going to be most important. First and foremost, a will, of course, is a legal document. All of them are legal documents that express a person's wishes to how their property, how their estate is to be distributed after their death. So if something happens to them and they're no longer here, the will is in place to specify how you would like your estate to be distributed. Okay. And also it gives information, or it provides details about who you want to be distributing it. So a person that's acting on your behalf to actually distribute it. The next thing is advanced medical directives. And the advanced medical directive, of course, is another legal document that specifies what action should be taken for individuals' health that are no longer able to make those decisions for themselves. Okay. So one of the things I have people to consider is, if you have children who are college age that you support, that you should have advanced medical directives for those kids, just in case while they're off at college, trade school, maybe traveling the world, whatever they may be doing, and something happens to them, they are now an adult when they turn 18. So you can't swoop in as a parent and say, this is my child, I can make decisions for them medically. That's not the way that our system is set up. So to have advanced medical directives for our kids while they're away for school or college is something one should consider. Last but not least is the durable power of attorneys. Again, another legal document, but it gives authority to a person to make health care decisions on your behalf. It also allows for an individual to do financial transactions or sign any legal documentation on your behalf. Again, if you're out of the country, if you're not in the state, if you're somewhere, or again, you're just not here to be able to do those things, the durable power of attorney allows you to do that. Now, last but not least, it's really important for people to have these things in place because it provides a plan of action if one cannot speak for themselves. Also, you want to make sure your wishes are carried out as you would like them to have been carried out if you were here. Also, it avoids any type of infighting or turmoil amongst loved ones, so forth and so on. I know that we've seen it in our community where people get into fights with loved ones and family members over stuff, over money, what have you. These things help to alleviate that. Nobody can be mad at the person who's no longer here. They can be, but it doesn't do them any good. Nobody can be mad at the person who's incapacitated. They might be, but they'll get over it. So having those things in place allows for families to still be together and bonded together, even in the most tragedy, in times of tragedy, right? And so lastly, it also, and this is, I think, is one of the most important things, it avoids the state from making decisions on your estate and your dependents and your children. If you don't have a will into place, in the will, a will in the play in place, then the state makes decisions about where your children go. The state makes decisions about how your estate is distributed. They take it through a process called probate, which costs money. So it eats into the estate of one's estate. Just clear cut as that. So you don't want the state to be making decisions on your behalf. You want to make those decisions.
Thank you for clearing that up. So can we talk a little bit about cash flow and cash flow management? I know we have a lot of entrepreneurs in our community in Charlottesville, Black entrepreneurs who are starting businesses, and some of these businesses have been started during the pandemic, and I salute y'all for doing that, because wow.
Salute.
So what does cash flow mean in layman's terms for not just the regular person, but for that entrepreneur that is just starting out? How does that work for them? What does that mean?
Yeah, so I mean, I think cash flow is assets minus liabilities. So if your assets are greater than the liabilities that you have, specifically as an entrepreneur or business owner, then you have a positive cash flow. And to have a positive cash flow, of course, is the goal, because now you're putting money to the bottom line of your balance sheet, which again is the goal as a business owner. If you're not making positive cash flow, if you're not making money, then you tend to not be in business long, unfortunately, because you don't want to get yourself in a situation. And I'll speak a little bit about the barriers that I see that people have as far as being cash flow positive. One of the barriers is that people often live above their means and have to supplement their income with debt instruments, such as credit cards or any other forms of debt. Okay. And when you get yourself into that situation, I know that it's tough. I know sometimes that, people fall on hard times and they use those things to stay afloat. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but I am saying that one should be very mindful of how you use those debt instruments. If you have a credit card, a good rule of thumb is to try to always have a zero balance at the end of every month. So allow that credit card to work for you. Some credit cards have cash back rewards. They give you stuff, but they only give you stuff if you have a zero balance. For the most part, or they might give you stuff even if you don't have a zero balance. However, the stuff that they give you is a moot point because you're paying probably a high interest rate to them for you to borrow those assets. So again, barrier to break through is to make sure that you're living within your means, you're running your business within your means, and that you have money to put to the bottom line of your business each month, each quarter, semi-annually, and annually.
So, for that entrepreneur that's starting out, what is the biggest thing that they should do? I mean, there are things that that I think the layman knows about when they're, starting a business. You have to have a business bank account, and, you have to designate your business as a sole proprietorship or an LLC and all of that stuff. But what, in the people that you have worked with, what's the one thing that that entrepreneurs overlook that is the most important?
I think the thing that I see, and it's a challenge even for myself, is to have a mindset, or not even just the mindset, but to have a goal to have operation expenses in excess of what you need. So if it costs you, let's just say, if it costs you $5,000 um, a month to run your business, the goal should be for you to have operations expense that will get you through 5 months, maybe. Let's say, I'm just throwing out a number, 4 or 5 months of operational expenses set aside, just in the event that you might have a slow month, or you might have employees, and you can continue to have your employees employed and not have to lay them off. So having additional or in excess of operating expenses is something that I think that many times is overlooked and not considered, to make sure that your business is thriving, that you're taking care of the people that you've hired, and ultimately that you're taking care of yourself and your business overall.
Okay. So, what do you think that people should know about disability and life insurance? Because, I mean, I know that even in my family, life insurance was definitely something that, like, my parents and my grandparents did, but
Mhm.
disability insurance, I don't even think was on the radar.
Yeah.
So what should we know about those two?
Yeah. So disability insurance is definitely one of the things that people don't speak a lot about. And a lot of times people don't actually think that they need it. But this is something to think about. Statistically, the statistical probability of one becoming disabled at some point in time in their working career is much, 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 much higher than somebody passing away prematurely. Okay. So the likelihood that you're out for extended period of time due to illness or injury is way higher than you passing away prematurely. Additionally, and not just and it's not just, it is about that paycheck insurance. It is about that paycheck coverage that you have, but it also is for those who go out and spend countless hours, time, money, and resources to have a very specialized skill. Case in point, a barber, an electrician, a doctor, a lawyer. They have spent professional hours. They've spent countless amounts of time and money to that craft, to that profession. And if something was to ever happen to them, say for instance, for a doctor, and they could no longer practice medicine, and their lifestyle is built around them practicing medicine, or their lifestyle is built around them having student loans or debt that they have to pay back, therefore they have to make a certain amount of income to be able to do that. Having a disability insurance policy in place will allow them to continue to make that money or continue to make that income, even though they may not be able to work in the profession that they have trained so hard to get the skill set to do. So it's not just about the fact that you may become disabled. It also protects you from the fact that you may not be able to do that work ever again.
Right.
And you need to make sure that income is supplemented.
So
As
can
far Mhm.
can
Yep.
anyone get disability insurance? Like, so let's say they're a musician
Mhm.
and they're in a car accident that injures their hand and it can't be repaired.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's policies out there that people can get. Musicians is a great a great example. And they can no longer play music. So
Right.
they no longer can make a livelihood. Or you got a singer whose voice is permanently destroyed for whatever reason, say cancer.
Hmm.
Those are things that the disability policy can protect. So it's
Okay.
not just about the income replacement. It is, that's a big component of it, but it also protects people who have a very specialized skill set, and they can cover that to make sure that they have something in place. Life insurance, of course, is, high level view. There's two types of life insurances. Of course, term and permanent. And term is self-explanatory in the sense it's for a term, it's for a period of time. It's usually cheaper. 10 years, 5 years, 20 years, 15 years, 30-year policies. You can even get policies that are year to year. And those policies, of course, provide immediate cash needs and continuing income for one's loved ones and beneficiaries. You have permanent policies, and the permanent policies provide coverage for your entire life as long as you pay, as long as you meet the premium obligations. Um, and permanent insurance can be used in various ways, in various formats, depending on what the situation is. And so, you know, it's all foundational to one's strategy for ultimately the goal of wealth accumulation, wealth building, sending kids to college, so forth and so on.
Hmm.
And then ultimately, estate planning, long-term care needs. And I don't know that we necessarily have that amount of time to discuss those in depth,
Right.
but I can be reached to have a further conversation if people are interested in it. But
Well, I do want to, and first of all, I want to say if anybody watching has a question or isn't clear about something that Andre's covered so far, please post a comment, post a question. We'll answer it right away. And second, let's talk about sending kids to college.
sure.
Because, I was a single mom
Yep.
and, my daughter, took out loans to go to college.
Yep.
She now has 2 children of her own.
Hmm.
And I think the best thing that I can do for her is to start something now that by the time her boys are ready to go to college, they have money to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe not the full amount for a full 4 years, but at
Sure.
least something to start them.
Yeah.
Um, what is in your opinion, the easiest way to do that?
So again, I don't want to dodge the question. It's just going to depend on the individual. There's a couple of different ways that one can save for um uh college savings. There's, of course, the probably the most known one, which is a 529 plan that has tax incentives for the individuals. There's also brokerage accounts. So there's various engines that you can feed to prepare for college. And for, of course, in this case, your grandkids. For others, their children. I have 3 girls, so that's something that we're working towards as well. And to be honest with you, what I find is while it's important to start saving, it's also really important to start having conversations
Mhm.
with your kids early. Okay. Because helping them to navigate or hone in. And I'm not saying like most people who've done college go into college and they change their major. And when they change their major, that extends time, so forth and so on. So working on a plan of action to get through college the most efficient is what I encourage people to consider. Have the conversations when they're freshmen to, hey, let's consider what you want to major in so that we can be on track with what that looks like. Also, maybe consider if college isn't for everybody, maybe consider trade school. College is for some kids. Maybe consider doing 2 years at a junior college, then transferring to a 4-year school so that you can cut costs there. Look at room and board. Are you going to go to a local college? Can I stay with mom and dad? Do mom and dad want me to stay with them? So those are the things that I want people to consider. Yes, you have to save for it, but you also have to plan accordingly. And us as parents need to also help and guide our kids in the right direction. Again, college might not be for everybody. Is college the best plan? Is college right for my kid at 18? Maybe college is better for my kid because I know my kid at 25. And I'm going to still support them at 25 to go to college. But they're mature. They have direction. They've made some mistakes. They're more focused. I tell people all the time, I wish I could go back to college. If I could do college again, I would start at 25 because I was more mature. I understood what I wanted. I understood the direction I wanted to go. So I know that was probably a little bit more than what you asked for, but
no, that was good. Like, because, I started talking to my daughter about college when she was 10.
See,
and I told her, I was like, yes, you absolutely should go to college. At that point, at 10, she wanted to be a sociologist. And so I was like, well, that's going to require some college. It will probably require a master's and or a PhD. So that's a lot of school. But I also told her at that time that I would help her in any way I could, but I was not going to pay for it for her because I want her, when she walked across that stage and got that piece of paper, I wanted her to know that she did it herself, that it was hers, that nobody helped her, that I wanted her to have that moment as a confidence builder for the rest of her life, right? To say, hey, you did this. And because you did this, you can do anything, kind of thing.
Right.
And she was really great because she wanted to do it. So she actually went and got scholarships and, all kinds of, like, she did that herself. But it's because we had that conversation, right? It's because we had the conversation of no, you're doing this by yourself. Like, I'll help you.
Right.
But you paying for it on your own.
Yeah. And it might even be a good idea to have that, like you did, to have that expectation with your daughter or with the kid, like, hey, I'm not gonna help fully fund it. I'll help you through. I think it's great for kids to pay for a certain portion of their own college experience, unless they have scholarships, and maybe you incentivize the scholarships. I've heard people say, hey, if you get a full ride scholarship to college, I'm going to buy you a new car. That's going to be my contribution to you. You can pick whatever car you want if you get a full ride scholarship to college. I love that deal.
Yeah.
A car, even the $50,000 car, which is a lot of money, is going to be cheaper than $100,000 of student loans or $100,000 of tuition that needs to be funded. So I've heard that, which I think is a great incentive. And then last thing about college. Okay. My suggestion is to have a plan. This is only a suggestion. This is Andre. My suggestion is to have a plan that when kids leave college, because student loan, it's a crisis. Let's get that. Let's get it. Like it's not the trajectory of student loans is going in the wrong direction. And my suggestion is to formulate a plan that they can leave college and only have student loans equivalent to 1 year's pay of their initial job. So if they get out of school, they land a job that's going to pay them $35,000, $40,000 a year, their student loan should not exceed $35,000 or $40,000 a year. But that takes planning. It takes strategy. But that is the way that we can set our kids up for the most success. And that's normally not grad school or, doctorate, the attorney type stuff. I'm talking about undergrad.
And that really, I mean, the way our society is changing. I mean, okay, I'm gonna talk about my age. I'm not talking about your age right now. But when I went to college, there was a consensus that in order to get a job that paid $40,000, $50,000 a year, you had to have some kind of degree. And when I was in college, it still mattered what type of degree you got, right? In order to get that check. And now it seems like the tuition costs have gone up so much, but the guarantee of having that certain paycheck when you get out has gone down.
Yes.
So
it will remain the same.
Yeah, right. So somebody who, who's going to get, a sociology degree is not going to be able to come out and have that $50,000 a year job automatically. They're either going to have to go back to get a larger, another degree, or they're going to have to work somewhere else, not in their field.
Yes.
When they're out.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And that's a part of the conversation that we need to be having with our kids. That providing them with realistic expectations, because I didn't have realistic expectations when I got out of school, as far as how much money I would be able to make with a college degree.
Mm-hmm.
And so having those conversations, showing them statistics. Oh, you want to be a veterinarian? Okay, this is what a veterinarian makes.
Ooh.
This is how much it costs to go to school to become a veterinarian.
And that's a lot of school to be a veterinarian.
Exactly. Does the cost benefit work out?
Mm-hmm.
Are you cash flow positive after this? Because school is without a doubt an investment. And within that investment, you want to make sure that investment is going to yield you a growth fruit.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to school and your college degree costs you $100,000, or more, $150,000, let's say $200,000, but it's only going to pay you $440,000 a year. Is that the best use of that $200,000?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I won't go on any topic tangents about the fact that they're loaning these kids at 18 through 20 whatever tons of money, but won't give them money to start a business. That's a whole nother conversation,
right?
But we as parents have to be mindful, and we got to help our kids count the costs and consider what type of degrees one may be considering and what's going to be the most beneficial for their future, and not have them drowning in student loan debt, trying to make ends meet.
All right. Well, let's go back to the pyramid that you mentioned at
Sure.
the beginning. So once you have all of these strategies in place, what's next? What's the next step?
Yeah. So I mean, so you know, the last components, if you will, of that financial strategy is we've touched on it a lot: college funding, retirement strategies to and through retirement,
Mm.
asset allocation and investment strategies, and then lastly, but not least, of course, is estate planning and long-term care. So real quick, because I know that we're running short for time, we've already touched on or hit on college planning. So that's important, of course, if that, and it's not applicable to everybody. Some people might not have that, but the retirement strategies to and through retirement is important. So let's make sure that we're taking advantage of any free money that's out there. If you have an employer, that provides a 401k plan, a match, make sure that you're taking advantage of the match. 100% of whatever they're going to give you is free money in your pocket. Make sure you're doing that. Most people know it's important to save for retirement, but how you save for retirement and what type of accounts you're saving in retirement also is going to be very important, specifically on the distribution side of things. So, sit down with somebody. I would love to sit down with folks, but sit down with somebody who can walk you through those different options. That goes with the risk management portion of it as well. Um, uh, Last but not least is estate planning and long-term care needs. Estate planning, of course, helps you consider the most efficient way to transfer wealth if that's what you desire to do. You spent all your life accumulating a certain amount of money. You might not be able to spend it all. That's the goal,
Mhm.
right? You might not be, or maybe it's not your goal. Again, I don't want to make sweeping statements. But for some people, their goal is to be able to transfer a little bit to their to their offspring, transfer a little bit to their loved ones, be able to support a spouse still that may not be here, with us. So estate planning covers those things and the transfer of wealth in the way that's most efficient. Last but not least is long-term care planning. Long-term care planning is something that I know that our community doesn't talk a lot about, but the long-term planning or long-term care planning can be very long-term care. Like, I'm elderly, I need 24 hours assistance, can be crazy expensive,
Yes.
astronomically expensive. Most of us have seen it. Okay. So planning for that instead of one's estate being eaten into, like all of the money that they work so hard to save for to build some type of wealth, to build some type of legacy, can sometimes be eaten up at the end of life through long-term care. There's strategies for that to address that so that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So those are the remaining of a sound foundational strategy. Would love to dig in with some folks who are interested in doing so, what that looks like and how that's formulated. But that's kind of the pyramid, if you will.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Andre, for taking the time out to talk with us. So if someone has a question or something pops into their head after this, um, and they just want to pick your brain a little bit, what is the best way that they can get in contact with you?
Yeah, so they can, of course, find me on LinkedIn. It's Andre Gould, Andre, Gould, Gould. And also you can reach out to my business phone, which is 434-260-0443. Again, that's 434-260-0443.
Thank you so much, Andre. And thank you, everyone who tuned in. As always, this will be up on our Facebook and our YouTube pages for anybody who wants to rewatch it and get some more information. I also want to let you guys know our last presentation happens tomorrow at 1 p.m., where my friend Joshua Lee will be presenting about community health. Thank you guys so much for attending our second presentation for KWANZAA 2020, and we will see you tomorrow. All right, peace.